Hi friends, I am popping here before this episode to give you a huge trigger warning. This is a very heavy episode. We're going to be talking about murder, suicide, death and dismemberment, including war PTSD, childhood abuse, alcohol and drug abuse. We are also talking about Hurricane Katrina, which can be triggering for people as well. Mental health talk throughout this episode. Kitti is a very good person to be talking about this because she has experienced some stuff. I think we come through with respect for all parties involved, and we have a lot of empathy for everyone. I hope you come into this with empathy for everyone, including the person who did commit the crime, because he also went through a lot of stuff. Well, thank you for listening to this episode. We really appreciate you getting through this with us. I can totally understand why my mom did not want to be a part of this one. She sat down and listened to some stuff about it, and she got the icks. So she didn't want to be involved in this one, which I totally understand. Welcome to Only Ghosts in the Building. This is your host, Emily Claire, and I'm here with...
Hi everyone, I'm Kitti Sage.
It's so nice to meet you.
You too.
I'm really excited because we're like now Facebook friends.
Yes.
And it just all of a sudden happened into this. On this episode, this is going to be heavy trigger warning. There is some really disturbing material that we're going to go through.
Yes.
But it plays a big part in the experiences that Kitti had in New Orleans. My mom decided to skip this one out because it was too gruesome for her. You're warned.
Well, lucky for you, gore is my thing.
And yay! I'm kind of I'm a Scorpio, so I got that dark side in me.
I'm a Capricorn.
Yeah, so if you want to break it down, I'm a Scorpio, Libra, Capricorn.
I don't know, like my rising and all that stuff. I know there's a little bit of Taurus in there. I don't know where. I always have to go back and re-look it up.
Yeah. It's funny because my son is a double Scorpio Capricorn. He's spicy.
Yeah. I have Capricorn and it's my primary, but it's also in one of my houses, and I am very much a tried and true Capricorn.
Yeah. You're like work.
Yes.
Yeah. Perfection. You don't understand people that aren't like that, too.
Yes.
Huh?
Work ethic is crazy. I look at others like, guys, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I'm doing the bare minimum. What are you doing? But I also never give myself a break, but...
Yeah. Well, your Taurus should bring that out in you. Do you have lots of, comfy stuff at home? Like, when you're chill, you're like...
Yeah.
I'm cozy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Once I'm home, I'm not going back out.
I hear you.
Nope.
I hear you. Okay. Anyway, now that we've had our Zodiac segment. So we are going to talk about Zack Bowen and Addie Hall. Rampart.
Yes.
Off of
Rampart Street.
Yeah. So they call them the Rampart Street Murders, and it happened just after Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans.
Yes. As you just mentioned, Hurricane Katrina. Zack and Addie, pre-Katrina, met each other while working in a bar, essentially. The world actually came to know them. They were featured on the local news in New Orleans because they decided to weather Katrina. They were almost like a story of hope during this devastating storm with all of this fallout and devastation.
Yeah.
And
they cleaned up the streets.
Yeah.
They took care. They would have barbecues. They made cocktails. They looted the bar that they worked in, apparently.
They did.
And they were just making cocktails. And most famous picture of them is on the street in their little chairs, and they had kittens on their lap and a glass of wine in the hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's how they lived.
Yeah.
Post Katrina, right post Katrina.
Yeah, and the thing is, people had really great things to say about them and their relationship and how much they seemed to be in love.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it was like a true love story, but it went very dark. very toxic. There was a lot of pain and suffering in their childhood. I know that Addie did not have a good family life when she was young, and so she kind of turned into kind of a modern bohemia, like, renegade.
Yeah.
And so she found herself there in New Orleans. Now his parents were hippies, so they've always traveled a little bit, but his mom wanted to settle down and his dad did not. Yeah. So what happened is, when he was 17, he went and lived with his dad, and then they made their way to New Orleans. So he was bartending at a to-go cup, like on like a window on the street, at like 17. He was really tall and he looked older, so he got away with a lot. And he met his wife, that is not Addie,
right,
Lana, and they had 2 children. And for them to make ends meet, he thought, oh, I really need more of a career. So he went and joined the military. His brother wasn't in the military, and so he said, okay, well, I'm going to do that. And it wasn't wartime. This was pre 9/11, so they were stationed in Germany. And then 9/11 happened, and basically the world fell apart. And he got deployed to Iraq, and a lot of bad things happened that caused him to be disillusioned with the government, for one, with the military, and also lots of post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yes.
There is going to be a lot of talk about mental health in this, and it's so important. Addiction and mental health is so important to get taken care of.
It is.
Yeah.
Very much.
Yeah. So anyway, he comes back. Him and his wife break up, and he's just out there doing the do, meeting Addie and doing cocaine about it.
Yeah. I mean, isn't that what everybody did in the early 2000s over a breakup?
Maybe.
That's a whole nother podcast episode.
It's so true. We're probably gonna make jokes and laugh, even though this is a pretty heavy.
It is
a heavy topic. I think it's the way that.
And I by no means mean any offense.
Yeah,
I am an
sure.
addict in recovery. I struggle with mental illness and addiction. I have my entire life, and I am always gonna laugh on the other side of this, and because it can't be so serious all the time, I think that plays into the stigma. If when we bring up something like this and we can't crack a joke about the life that we have previously lived, that was an experience from my own, So it's not anything where we are not making fun of you. If anything, we're here.
Yes. Absolutely.
Do not stay silent about it. Please get help if you're struggling.
Yeah. Yeah. I wasn't on the addiction side, but I definitely have always I was diagnosed as ADD before they just incorporated that into ADHD. And so I've always been neurospicy, and then I also had depression, anxiety, off and on medication. So, and you just sometimes need help.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and it's okay if you do.
It's absolutely okay, and we would rather you ask for help than
go to your funeral.
Go to the wrong way.
Yeah.
So, we're gonna make jokes, but we're here. We get you.
Yes.
So no disrespect, absolutely. Anyway, so we're back.
We're back to doing cocaine.
Cocaine about it.
Yes.
and shots of Yaga.
Yeah.
But they had a good time. They were in love. It was like they didn't have to go to work. They were just on the street having fun and being in with their own community. And they were kind of the king and queen of post-Katrina. So they had some notoriety. And then when things got back to normal, things went very bad. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Very, very bad.
But also, things never really went back to normal in New Orleans. I mean, everybody was trying to get back to making money.
Right.
But, I mean, for the average person, not the tourist community, not that area, not where the tourists were going, they still
Right.
still have not recovered some of those areas.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
And so things went back to normal for businesses, but not for the actual average citizen of Louisiana.
Yeah.
So,
And can you imagine all the PTSD after that, too?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like just even knowing about it is...
I mean, watching it on the television was traumatizing. There were bodies just covered and left to bloat and rot.
Yes.
And in plain sight of everybody.
Yeah.
I could not imagine the smell.
No.
Could you imagine somebody coming from being in the war and then smelling rotting flesh and seeing the tanks and the National Guard and all of that? And I know that plays into what he, witnessed firsthand and kind of what happened to change.
Yeah.
Why we aren't having fun anymore.
Yeah.
His
his ex-wife said that when he came back, he was not the same person.
I can't imagine anybody
not
would
the
be.
same person. Yeah. Yeah. It's terrifying. That's why I never went into the military, because I am too much of an empath. I could not handle it.
My husband was in the military, in the Army in the early 2000s, and, wasn't there. We weren't at war when he was in the military, so he never actually went and fought, but even basic training and the special ops training and stuff, he saw people die, and they were accidental, totally could have been prevented type deaths, and he still saw that. So, like, even service members who aren't serving are going through things. And are coming back traumatized.
And our government is all willing to send it over. And take all that they can from you and then not take care of you when they come back.
You come back and there's no system to really help you when you need it.
Yeah. So they kept breaking up, going back to normal, air quotes. Things were tough for both of them to settle back in. They were breaking up all the time. Also, this was back in the day when gay was not a good thing.
Right.
I mean, some people were out, but it was still undercover, and he was bisexual. And he cheated on her with a man, and when she found out, she went bananas. She texted all his friends saying that he had AIDS, like all this horrible stuff. And she was very homophobic, or at least she used that against him. So again, neither one of them were good for each other.
Oh, absolutely not.
She would beat him, and apparently he beat her too. Like, they would both end up having these fights and be bruised up by each other. So, but they just could not keep away from each other.
Yeah.
They had an apartment, and he had put up all this money for it, and she was like, you know what? Get out. And he was about to become homeless with no money because he put all this money into it. From what his writing, because he wrote it all down in her diary afterwards, he got so upset, he just kind of snapped and strangled her to death in that apartment.
The thing that everyone needs to understand is that Addie was a very tiny woman.
Yes.
He was not a tiny man.
He's 6'11".
Yes.
Size 17 feet.
He shook her, and essentially they believe, because they couldn't do an accurate autopsy of her, but they believe he snapped her neck.
Oh, because I heard that he strangled her, but yeah, I guess that would make sense. Yeah. And then he kind of disassociated.
Yeah.
It was a total, like, disassociated moment.
Yeah.
And when he came to, kind of, he was like, oh God, what did I do, and how am I going to fix this?
Yes.
What he did record in the diary that he left for investigators to have, he said that here's some, he necrophiled her. I don't know how to say it.
Yeah.
He I guess it's a matter of kind of a control thing.
Yeah.
Where he defiled her body after a couple of times after she was dead. Then she started to decompose, and he said, I guess I'm gonna have to dismember her and get rid of the evidence.
Yeah.
So he dismembered her corpse and tried to cook it down. Now, there are reports saying that he cannibalized her, but there was absolutely no evidence. She was cooked and left on the stove.
There was parts of her in the refrigerator, inside of the stove, and then on top of the stove. Yeah. And I do believe the one police report makes mention of the stove was on. Now, I don't know if it was the oven portion or one of the burners, but it was on like a slow, like very low heat to almost simmer, and it seems to me that the intention was not to actually consume her.
No.
I think honestly he was trying to boil that down to the bones so it was easier to transport the body.
Yeah, to get rid of her body. I don't know, like he had a head, like decapitated her and took her head and feet and all that.
Yeah.
So, gruesome part. Phew. That's a heavy thing to go through, and I can't imagine being an investigator going through that.
No,
and seeing
not
that
at
site. So, 12 days after he murdered her, it was October 5th that he murdered her. And that whole time he went heavy into drug use. He looked horrible. He was out partying. All the money that he had. Well, because I think he went to work for a couple of days, and then he was just like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to get rid of this body. And he lost his mind. He wrote spray painted stuff on the walls, like did all this, like just really lost it. Did a lot of drugs, a lot of cocaine, and a lot of alcohol. Went out to strip clubs. He did all these wild and crazy things, treating people to lap dances and things. And then he wanted to spend all his money. And then once that money was gone, he was going to unalive himself, which he did.
He did.
So he went to the Omni Hotel rooftop bar.
Yeah.
And drank, and then jumped off that building onto the car park that was 5 stories down. And when the police came, they found in his pocket a plastic baggie with his note, his suicide note, and a key to his building on Rampart Street. That is the end. And they went in there and they found all the things and pieced everything together with the diary that he wrote, the journal. And
I think in the note in his pocket, I know he put the address, but he also put I killed her.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna find, and I don't know, I don't want to misquote, I don't know exactly what the note said. I have read it before, but I can't off the top of my head, but I know that he admitted to it.
Yeah.
And
he owned up to what he did.
Yeah, it almost felt like he regretted it.
Oh, I remember what they said. It was, I'm taking my life for the one that I took.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Which is heavy.
Yeah. I mean, and then their apartment sat empty for a while. And there was a fire on the first floor voodoo shop.
Yeah.
And that's when everybody began to be like, oh, the building's cursed and all this other stuff. But Bloody Mary.
Yeah.
If you don't know who Bloody Mary is, she is a voodoo practitioner in New Orleans. And she owns Bloody Mary's Voodoo Museum. And it is actually the Rampart Street Murder House. And she took the building and completely remodeled the inside, and not in a way that doesn't pay respect to the original foundation, because you can see the OG brick in some of these rooms and it very much adds to the vibe. It's also a lot bigger on the inside than it looks outside, but it's...
Now, did did they still, I've heard that they still have the oven there.
They have both the oven and the fridge.
Yeah.
There, and I also believe the bathtub is the bathtub that she sat in, that he put her in while he was dismembering her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So I bet you can feel it when you get there.
Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
When you walk up the steps, because there are apartments on the second floor,
Mm-hmm.
you hit that halfway point and you feel the electric in the air.
Mm-hmm.
You feel like you're walking into static electricity.
Yeah.
And it is an immediate feeling. It's like you're going from one plane and realm of existence and you walk right into another.
Yeah.
It is wild.
Isn't that funny that I said the same thing about when we went to Casadega in the spiritualist? They had that one room where they did all the seances.
Yeah.
It is the same feeling.
Yeah.
That thick, heavy, static feel.
Uh-huh.
Yep. That's exactly what I said yesterday.
There are places that you walk into and you feel that and you just know.
Yep.
I don't know if everybody can feel it. Like, my husband does not believe too much into this. And he, like, I wanted to smack him when we were investigating the Zack and Addie's apartment, because he, like, I'm like, dude, you gotta, like, just take a breath and open your darn mind and let it in.
Yeah.
But even he was like, yeah, I mean, I guess.
Right.
Well, the fact that he was like, yeah, I mean, I guess is something. I mean, everybody had an experience. And he admittedly at the end said, you know, some things definitely didn't make sense.
Yeah.
So that's a win for, you know, a non-believer.
Yeah. See, it's funny because I think I'm a skeptic, but I'm not as skeptic as other people.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm a skeptical believer.
You should always be a skeptical believer because not everything is at face value real.
Right.
Question everything.
Yeah.
Always.
For sure.
And, you know, when you can't come up with a logical explanation, that is where
that's the paranormal.
Yes, that belief comes in.
Yeah.
You know, belief is having faith in something that you don't know is true, right?
Right.
So that's it. You're a believer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If you can't figure out how or why, it's the same as having faith.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. Okay, so tell me, now that we've gotten through all the story, tell me about your trip. Why you decided to go down there, besides the fact that it's New Orleans. And I feel like every spiritual person needs to go there sometime. Except for me. I've never gone. I've had friends that live there, multiple friends. And
we gotta get you there.
I know.
You're gonna love it. You are gonna love it.
It's been my dream. I just sent my mom a message because after Anne Rice died, they stopped her Halloween balls.
I was gonna say, oh my god,
Halloween ball.
If I ever had a balls, they would be Halloween.
It's true. No, but so they're starting it back up. Christopher, her son, is starting it back up, and I'm like,
yes. Yeah, we definitely drove by her home right there in the Garden District. Beautiful. So why the hell did I go to New Orleans in April of, what was it, 2021? Yeah, because we were right out of, we still had to wear, everybody was still masking up and everything. I remember that. But so, as I mentioned,
Nick Groff was wearing a mask in that picture.
Yes. I reached out to Emily here to tell her this story via social media, and I sent her the picture of me and Nick Groff from that night to be like, I'm not bullshitting you, okay?
I'm like, listen, I believe you.
I don't tell people this. I said, I used to, do a podcast at HorrorCon, so I've met lovely people, but it's always felt weird to me to be like, oh, look who I met. Look at this. Okay, it was a cool opportunity, but they're human too.
Yeah, name dropper.
Yeah, I don't, it's weird to me, but anyway, so...
Listen, I've met plenty of famous people too. So,
yeah.
I used
really
to live in New York.
Cool.
Yeah.
But they are people.
Yes, also
and
people.
if you approach them as another, people, they are more inclined to talk to you, especially when you're like interviewing them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't really go, oh my God, you're like Cassandra Peterson. Oh my God, blah, blah, blah. You can't, like, you gotta keep it
even though you kind of want to.
Yeah, totally doing it inside of your head and being in fight or flight because you just want to, yeah. But so I was at a place in my life where I was really seeking spiritual connection more than just spirituality.
Yeah.
For me, my ancestors lived and died, and I know that. And that was real to me.
Yeah.
And I had met a man in the horror con scene, and he had written some books, and he had a hoodoo shop right on Bourbon Street, and I started communicating with him and asking him questions because I wanted to understand how I could connect with my ancestors, to connect with the spirit of those who are no longer with us. I needed guidance. I needed help. I was struggling.
We're not taught that.
Right.
Yeah, we're not taught that.
No.
So,
and it's powerful because they are real. We know they were real. We wouldn't be here if they weren't.
Right.
And for me, coming from previous trauma and having PTSD myself, like, I can't, with certain religious ideas, or like it happened to you to make you stronger. Like, I was innocent and it shouldn't have happened. Can we stop acting like it made me better? It also gave me a freak ton of trauma responses, and life is hard.
Right.
And I was seeking something deeper. And so, I planned this whole trip around going and paying other practitioners to kind of do root work in their practice and readings to help guide me and help connect me.
Right.
Do that ritual that's going to connect me to my ancestors, because I don't know how to do that, and nor am I going to try and do it because it's not my practice and I don't understand it.
Right.
But I want to open my practice up and have you help me get this connection.
Yeah.
And it was a very powerful experience to go do that, but that's why I was going to New Orleans, and I did those things while I was there.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I wish I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna get some stuff.
You have to.
And I like that you met the man, you talked to him, and then you went and paid him.
Yes.
Like, that's how you do it. That's not cultural appropriation.
Right. I have bought all his books as well.
Yeah.
Making sure that I'm supporting him was very important because I wanted him to know that I appreciated what he was giving me, and he's from his family. This isn't something he just said, I'm going to go do this one day.
Yeah.
He has so much power and knowledge and culture. It's astounding to be in his presence.
Yeah.
But it was funny how this all happened. I was like, well, we're there for, 3 days, trying to, plan out the trip. I knew I wanted to see Bloody Mary's museum, so I'm here in my living room with my husband next to me in Delaware, and I call and I go, I'm trying to get tickets for this date or this date. And she's like, I don't have any regular tickets available, but I have this event where you come into the museum and you do an overnight investigation with Nick Roth, and we have some other local paranormal investigators that will be here, but there's only a few tickets because it's a smaller space, so would you like? And I was like,
sold.
Yeah.
So we're going to go through real quick and say Nick Groff for those not in the know. Because I'm sure there are some of you that don't know. He was one of the originators on Ghost Adventures, and then when he branched out on his own with a bunch of different people. He's done a bunch of different projects. Most notable, I think, was The Ghost of Shepherdstown.
Yes.
Which is funny because that's where I went to school.
I love that.
So I was all up in that.
That was a really good
place.
series. I always liked his approach to investigating. Yeah. I'm sorry, guys, I'm a Zach Bagans hater. I think the guy is I don't know if steroids were a paranormal investigator. Come on, fight me, bro. Come at me.
Yeah, like
you
that.
know?
I guess I know what side of the Nick versus Zack side you're on.
Yeah. He always remained respectful. He never said anything rude. He just said, listen, I do this because this is what I'm passionate about, and I want to go explore these places, and if it's successful and I make money, like, yay. But it became about something else with him, and I just didn't, and I no longer, like,
ego.
ethically aligned, and he kept his mouth shut for a very long time, and I don't think it was until recently that I believe it was on Twitter he put something out there, and you know, and then after he did, other people started coming forward and saying, yeah, well, we also had a show on that network and he threw a fit and we lost it. Like, Destination Fear is now fully self-funded.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can still watch it, but
Right.
like, Dakota was a guest on the Ghost Adventures, the guy from Destination Fear, and
well,
like
he was one of their video guys.
Yeah, he like won something,
that.
and then they brought him on, and then he went and did his own thing, and God forbid somebody else do.
Did you hear what Zack said about Dakota?
No.
He said that there was, he thinks that Dakota is possessed by the devil, and that he did all these, like, satanic worship stuff. Like, I was like, what? What kind of
Says
crazy?
Zach Bagans, who's like, fight me,
Yeah.
demons,
Yeah.
and always making them, I'm sorry, I hit the table,
It's okay.
like, making, you know, them participate in the weirdest ritualistic shit that you know they know nothing about.
Yeah, I think maybe Billy does. I don't know.
I don't
Listen,
know.
so I was in Colorado. I'm going to tell you right now, I've watched pretty much every single Ghost Adventures episode because I call it my research.
Yeah.
Because I was in Colorado. I was about to move back home, but I was out of work. So I had all this time and only a limited like thing to watch video wise. So I like watched all of them, and there were some really cool things, but like he's disrespectful to the humans.
Yeah.
And disrespectful to the entities. Like, these are people. I mean, unless there is some kind of demon thing, which I don't necessarily think I believe in.
Right.
Personally, I've never encountered that. So,
yeah,
it's a religious dogma to me, but I think that he goes about it the wrong way, and he's very antagonistic, and it's disrespectful to people that have passed.
Yes, it really is.
Like, I like Amy Bruni because she talks about that, like, even going to jails and stuff. Like, she said, don't treat them badly. You don't know why they're there.
Right.
They could be innocent. It could be like, I wanted to say it was Eastern State had like a 12-year-old boy.
Yeah,
and
a dog.
Right. Like, crazy stuff.
Right.
Right. So, you know, you never know who's here, and you don't want to be rude.
Right.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
I learned that lesson our first night in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to Only Ghosts in the Building. If you have any write-in stories that you would like us to read on air, please write us an email at onlyghostsinthebuilding@gmail.com, or you can send us a DM on our Instagram page at Only Ghosts in the Building, or on Facebook at Only Ghosts in the Building. We also have started our Patreon page, so go to patreon.com/onlyghostsinthebuilding. No spaces between, or you can search Only Ghosts in the Building, no spaces between, and come join. It's free, or there are going to be a couple of pay monthly options, but you will get all your episodes ad-free there, and I will be posting a little bit more behind the scenes, or all the evidence that we collect will be posted there as well. So please come and join the fun. We will see you soon.